What's going on, everybody? So in this video, we are going to be talking about some upcoming NFT projects coming out, some recent projects that are hot and just minted, as well as some of the hottest NFT news you definitely don't want to miss. Now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the market sentiment overall. When we are looking at crypto from a macro perspective, everything's moving sideways. Nothing is changing too much when it comes to volume as well. So pretty much the same as we were a couple days ago. And so let's go ahead and get into some NFT projects. So the first project we're going to talk about is going to be Arza Games. Now, this is a company and they recently just launched an NFT project that has already minted. And as you can see on OpenSea, they're getting some significant volume. Floor price is at 0.3. I'm personally not really feeling the art itself, but you know, this is a gaming game, so maybe it's going to look different when you're playing on the computer or mobile device, right? So essentially, this is going to be a Web 2 game moving into Web 3 with NFTs. So that's pretty bullish on the space in general. They got a lot of people on their team, right? A ton of people. So it's obvious that they have a lot of funding. They don't even have to make any announcements because each person is going to cost quite a bit of money. So the investors that they have is going to be Andreessen Horowitz and other investors as well. I'm not too familiar with the other investors. They could be big. I'll go ahead and just leave that for you to do your own research. But Andreessen Horowitz obviously is the biggest name that they have over there. And even on their Twitter, they're going to be like funded by A16Z and NFX. And you can see over here that they're also hiring a bunch of people as well. So that's kind of healthy for the company because this is a 5,000 supply. So I mean, they raised over $1 million with the NFT sale with the current mint prices and Ethereum, which is fine, but I'm guessing they have raised millions to actually produce this game. Now, this particular company also produced Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, which is a very popular mobile game. You can see on the App Store, it's number 79 in strategy, 200,000 ratings. It's a free game, so they understand that free to play model and monetizing their customers. I dug a little deeper, and it seems like in 2021 in November, it seems like Star Wars Galaxies hits over $1.4 billion in revenue. How much of that is profit is another story, but they definitely know how to get people to play a game, probably running ads and using ad networks and stuff like that to get people inside and then trying to monetize them as much as possible, which is typically how the mobile game space works. And of course, you know, they're using a Star Wars IP, so it makes it a lot easier for them to attract people, right? Because it's Star Wars, right? So when they're creating their own game with their new IP, obviously when you're spending ad money on a new game no one has heard about, that's going to be more difficult than if you were marketing Star Wars, but they do know how to acquire users and monetize. Mixing things up a little bit, we're going to talk about another gaming project because it seems like NFT gaming is on the rise, and it's going to be E4C Final Salvation. So this is essentially going to be a mobile game. You know, it looks all right. I don't know if it's going to be a Smash game. You definitely see the League of Legends influences. Obviously, I think the main thing people want to know is not necessarily the light paper, the graphics and stuff like that. They want to know who the team is, right? You know, the founder and CEO is going to be Johnson Ye, and he is the ex-CEO of Riot Games. Of course, they're going to know how to acquire users. Of course, they're going to know how to monetize those users. Feedback I have for them is that their website's very confusing. For me to even find their OpenSea collection and understand what all these collections are is a bit, I'm getting like mental fatigue. So I definitely think they can simplify everything much more. They have a couple collections. One of them is going to be the ultimate one, which just has a 15 ETH floor, but the supply is only 15. So can't really say much about that because, you know, who holds these supplies, right? I guess people are buying it, but then the range is so drastic that it's like hard to say what it's actually worth. They're also going to have the gold edition, and this one's going to have 450 supply. Floor price is going to be that 1 Ethereum, but there's not a lot of volume for it as well. I feel like they're not getting a lot of marketing love when it comes to them posting on Twitter and stuff like that. So I'm guessing they're purposely doing lower supply to keep the floor prices high so that people will be like, oh, it must be a good project if the floor price is 1 ETH, right? Moving away from E4C, something I did want to talk about is like when it comes to floor prices for any project, not just these gaming projects I'm talking about today, but a lot of times, you know, a project may launch a NFT, they'll do low supply, and then they will keep their floor prices high at all costs, right? Especially for the funded companies because they have money to pay a market maker, which technically is not legal, right? You can buy these services. They'll find different ways to increase their floor, whether it's influencers pumping up a floor, whether it's market making and creating multiple wallets and buying the floor. You always really want to think about whether the demand is real or not. You want to think if there's a real community that can actually support the floor, or if it's something that may be artificially done. Now, if you're a trader trader, even if you know something is artificially inflated, that could work to your advantage because you're like, oh, I know these guys always pump their floor, so I'm going to buy it low and they're going to pump it up and I'm going to sell it, right? Different approaches to go. I'm not saying what's wrong or right. I'm just saying that because supply is so low and teams have a lot of money to spend, it's not that difficult to manipulate your floors if you really wanted to. So just keep that in mind, where not everything you see is always real. Next up is going to be Cool Cats. Now, Cool Cats, you know, kind of has been struggling a little bit compared to where it was like last year, especially after they launched the whole gaming tokenomics kind of thing following suit of Cyberkonks, and their floor price pretty much just went down, right? Animoca Brands recently announced as a strategic investment partner to work with Cool Cats, and Animoca does have a lot of gaming projects under its umbrella. So it seems like they're going to be partnering with this other company that they also owned, which is Game, an arcade blockchain. This company is going to help Cool Cats, you know, get on its feet when it comes to doing the game. Taking the gaming part aside, I feel like if they just went the pure IP Hello Kitty kind of route, that probably would have been much stronger, but hey, maybe they might be something later on, right? So just want to put that on your radar. Now, next project we're going to talk about is going to be Imaginary Ones. They recently just launched a collaboration with Hugo. You know, what I'm saying is they're taking the Imaginary Ones assets that they have, changing the background, adding more traits onto it, and that is going to be the collection essentially, right? So the question I have is like, what are these NFTs particularly going to do, and why is Hugo Boss wanting to collaborate with Imaginary Ones on this project? So just me doing a little bit of research, Hugo Boss is undergoing kind of like brand revamp. They want to be more appealing to the younger audience, the affluent audience, so it kind of makes sense for them to go for an NFT project. I'm sure they see like Tiffany & Co. and Louis Vuitton getting into the NFT space, so when other people innovate, then you kind of just have to follow the road, right? So this mint is going to come in 9 days. On their website, it's not really clear exactly what you're getting when you're buying this NFT. I believe it's going to be low supply, around 1,000. I'm just going to throw some guesses, honestly. They're going to give you some discounts, other NFTs, some exclusive merch. You know, this itself is a collectible. I'm sure they're going to give you some events in real life as well, but I really do wish they made it more clear on what they are offering. If I were to advise them, I would probably say like, you don't have to play all your cards, right? Because you still want to build excitement, but at least give us something. Give us a story that we can tell our friend, or if I make a YouTube video, I can tell the audience like, this is why it might be interesting. I wonder if like, if more and more luxury brands enter the space and everyone's doing a collab, does it mean anything, right? Because the other video we talked about Invisible Friends and BMW and Kith, right? Which is an interesting collaboration. So we're going to see more and more of these. Let's just see how this plays out. Next project we're going to talk about is going to be Artifact Studios. It's not really clear like what this is supposed to be, but they've been hinting a lot about this story mode, storytelling narrative. We also seen Azuki also doing the storytelling narrative. We've seen Jenkins, the valet, you know, Bored Ape guy, doing storytelling as well. So there definitely is a storytelling meta going on right now. What does that actually mean? Are they going to build a game with this? Are you going to be able to use your clone for something? Regardless of what they do, one thing I did want to talk about is the prices. So I've been watching the price of CloneX over the past couple days as they release their teasers, so I can understand like what pieces of content and what pieces of news actually generate interest and hype and increase floor prices. I mean, looking at the floor price over here, not too long ago, people were buying it for 5, which was actually a pretty good deal at that time, looking back in hindsight, right? But nobody knows how far down it go. But because of these teasers and the storytelling things, suddenly the price went from like 5.5 all the way to like 7.2 now. So that's quite a significant jump. And to move that kind of market, I mean, CloneX has a lot of supply. It's a 20K supply collection, right? It's not cheap either. So a lot of money is definitely moving back into CloneX. And I feel like money just kind of rotates around between a lot of blue chip projects sometimes when it comes to narrative. When something pumps, they're going to sell it. Some people take profits, some people just want to hold. And then they just keep moving that money around, especially when there's not too much new people entering the space. That's how they make money, right? And just a thought about that, just be careful about what you see on Twitter, right? Because a lot of people will tell you like why something is great without really telling you why it's great. They'll be like, oh my God, this is the best project ever. This is so sick. But then it's like, why is it sick? Who is the founder? What are they trying to do? When you also check people's wallets as well, the public ones that they have, and sometimes the secret ones that they have, sometimes people will say a project's really great, but then secretly they're just like have their NFTs listed that they're talking on Twitter, right? Be very careful about that, because when there's not a lot of new money entering the space, traders got to make money somehow, and they understand that narrative is very powerful to move prices. And if they work together and they all talk about a project at the same time, price will probably move. They are able to sell their assets, break even at least, and then carry the rest and see how far it will go, right? And so it's kind of unfair. I would say, for the average person going to NFTs because they don't understand how difficult the game is. So if you are watching this, be very careful when you see someone promoting something and you see many people promoting something. Really think about what is their financial incentive to do that. You can ask them, or they'll probably never tell you, but like at what floor price are they willing to exit that position, right? I feel like if they were honest about that, then what they will say will carry a lot less weight. If they're going to hold forever, that's a different story, right? If they believe in the community, they're really supporting it, different story. But if they're just pumping to sell on you, which happens a lot, and if you look at the history of many influencers on Twitter, and they haven't even deleted their tweets even at this point, and they're supposedly like legit founders, it's pretty hilarious actually. The ones that really try to be adamant on Twitter say, oh, I'm legit, all these other projects are scams. That's everything that we have to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one.